I'll just get the light back on in this room.
Damn automated technology. Hello and welcome to this edition of ContentED from Janno Media. And this week on the bulletin, we have Sophie Lloyd from the tax team at Ashurst. Thank you very much for joining us, Sophie.
Thanks for having me.
And perhaps before we start, you could just give a couple of sentences about the relationship between Janno and the tax team at Ashurst and the podcast that we're making at the moment.
Of course. So we've been really enjoying working with Janno on the tax team's new podcast series called Tax Lyrical.
Best name ever.
We're very pleased with it. And in that podcast series, we are discussing topical tax issues from a pragmatic and commercial perspective. So the aim really is to demystify technical points of law and help our clients get to the practical points that they need to think about on a day-to-day basis in terms of tax. And so the most recent episode that we produced together was on the Labour manifesto and the key tax changes that our clients can expect that may affect them as a result of the recent change of government.
Excellent. Very topical.
Yes, very topical, and lots more in the pipelines. We've got lots of ideas and we're looking forward to working with Janno on those.
Thank you, Sophie. But today we're here to talk about your 5 content choices that you sent through to us as guest editor on our ContentED newsletter. We're doing the video edition today. But yes, so let's run through your 5 pieces of content. The first one you submitted was an audiobook called East West Street. Could you tell us about that?
Yes, I have been raving about East West Street by Philippe Sands to anyone that will listen over the last few months. And it is just a remarkable piece of research of family history. And the author, Philippe Sands, is a top human rights lawyer, but it's about his Jewish family's experiences during the Holocaust. And it all centers around the Polish city Lviv, where his family originate from. But what it interweaves with that very remarkable story is also human rights law history, because I don't think it's widely known outside of the human rights law world where the terms genocide and crimes against humanity came from, and they were used for the first time during the Nuremberg trials. Right. And so what Philippe Sands says, and he narrates the audiobook himself, is sort of explains how those terms came to be and where the human rights lawyers who came up with those terms, why it was, what their ideology was, and why it was that they felt that those terms were important and how they differed. And somehow that really also all comes into play in a really extraordinary way with his family history. So it's almost like a piece of detective work and research, and it's got a bit of everything, but it's incredibly important. It's incredibly important testimony of his family's experience during that period.
Sounds well crafted, as you say, the way something can be woven in with something else. Yeah. So that is East West Street by, say the name again?
Philippe Sands.
Thank you. Okay, and the next piece of content you sent us is also an audiobook. I'm seeing a theme here, and it's called Unruly. And who's it by? Tell us who it's by and what it's about.
This is David Mitchell, and again, he narrates it himself with his usual sort of brilliant and sharp comic timing. And this is a very amusing history of England's kings and queens, right from the mythical King Arthur to Elizabeth I. And David Mitchell tells the story of just how ridiculous some of these monarchs, including their names, Ethelred, it's quite a common one, and their policies were, and equally how unhappy a place England was to be for much of the under many of these rulers. But as you'd expect from an author who studied history, David Mitchell also covers how all of that absurdity has left its mark on today's modern Britain.
Yeah, you hear about those sort of throwback rules and things that are still somehow in today's laws about moving sheep through the streets of London and things, I suppose.
Oh, yes. It sounds like all sounds rather bleak at times, actually. Yes, but Sophie Mitchell delivers it in a very funny way.
And a nice reminder that things aren't so bad, I suppose, these days.
Exactly.
Lovely. And so the third piece of content you recommended was a YouTube channel called Chicken Shop Day. I'd never heard of this, but now I'm obsessed. Tell us all about it.
Yes, so this is the creation of Amelia de Moldenberg, and I think she is just a genius. She's created an entirely new format of interview, and the idea is that she dates celebrities in chicken shops across London, and it's as if she really is on a romantic date with them. Albeit an extremely awkward date, and Amelia seems to revel in that. So it's not really like other interview formats that we're used to, and I think as a result, she really brings out a different side to her guests. They seem quite disarmed, and it's often very humorous. And this YouTube channel has exploded in popularity, particularly over the last year. And so, for example, her most recent date was with Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds.
Because they're promoting a film coming out, Deadpool.
They're promoting Deadpool and Wolverine. Yes, which I have not gone to see yet, but might be more tempted after the Chicken Shop Day episode.
And could well feature as a piece of content somebody recommends on our next issue of ContentED. Lovely, thank you. Very funny stuff. So the fourth piece of content you recommended is a documentary available on Amazon Prime. And it's called 99. It's quite different from the rest of your choices. So tell us a bit about it, please.
Yes. So this documentary is the story of Manchester United's 99 treble winning season, or 98 to 99. I'm biased because I'm a Manchester United fan and was a particularly huge Manchester United fan in the 90s. Maybe that's a glory supporter. But it's a very nostalgic documentary for me, and as a United fan, I obviously would say it's when winning the treble really meant something. But it's really interesting to look back at football and see how much it's changed, even from then to today. And what's really interesting as well is that Manchester United winning in that season was by no means a foregone conclusion. I think we all look back and think, they were so dominant in that period, but actually there were so many setbacks during that season. So it's also a great story of perseverance and of Sir Alex Ferguson's leadership.
Brilliant. Who were the players back then? I might even remember some of the names myself.
Oh, well, Beckham's obviously.
Okay.
One of the stories I really like that's covered in the documentary is of the special partnership that Andy Cole and Dwight York had together, and they just became a sort of goal-scoring machine together. And before they sort of found each other, neither of them were doing as well as individuals, but came together and created something really special.
Interesting. Lovely. Thank you very much. And so the final piece of content you recommended is a podcast called Always Take Notes. That's an intriguing title. What's that about?
Yes, so this is a bit different, and I should disclose first that one of the co-presenters of this podcast is my sister Rachel, who's the deputy culture editor at The Economist. And on this, she with her co-presenter Simon Acomb, they speak to a diverse range of people within the literary world, so authors, journalists, literary agents, and it's all about being in that industry. So from the creative process of writing, how to do that, top tips from their guests, to the business of writing itself. So how do you actually create a business? How do you make money from this, from these activities? And I understand that world can sometimes be somewhat opaque. But even as a listener who clearly is not a professional creative writer, as a tax lawyer, I really enjoy listening to it because the guests, the quality of guests is just amazing, and hearing them talk about their craft and their business is really enlightening and interesting. So the guests, for example, have ranged from Victoria Hislop to Ian McEwan, Jay Rayner, and many more. So really worth a listen.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Sophie. Some great content there. That's going to keep me busy. Perhaps this weekend. Could get through that in a weekend, I think. So thank you very much, Sophie Lloyd, for joining us on this edition of ContentED. And if anybody who is watching or listening to this would like themselves to be a guest editor for our newsletter or a video bulletin like this one, then please get in touch with us through the Janno Media website. We'd love to hear your content choices. Thank you very much, Sophie. I'll let you get back to your day now.
Thanks for having me, Saf.
No problem. Bye.